I know how to make a cake, I know what the ingredients are, I know the general motions, but despite possessing a full suite of knowledge vis-a-vis the baking of confectionery, every cake I've ever made has been inferior to the ones my mum makes with the same ingredients. This analogy was all I could think about the whole time I was playing Greedfall. You see, French outfit spiders know exactly how to make an action RPG. They've been doing it for over 10 years, they know the ingredients needed, they know the motions you have to go through to get from some raw eggs and flour to licking a wooden spoon clean while they watch the fruits of their labours rise through the little window in the oven door. But for some reason, after all the RPG spiders have produced, they still haven't got the mix quite right. Since Of Orcs and Men, I've championed spiders, and I'm still 100% sure that one day they'll produce a veritable masterpiece. I'd hoped Greedfall would be it, the one to finally put spiders on the map, but sadly it's not quite that game, although it is the best thing they've ever produced, and it's not without its merit. It tells the story of Lord or Lady de Fradee, a young aristocrat with a mysterious heritage who must travel from their home in the city of Serene to the legendary island of Teer Fradee. The purpose is to install de Fradee's cousin, Constantin d'Orsay, as governor and find a cure for the Malachor, an unnatural disease that has claimed countless lives. After the initial character creation, which kind of jars you by first showing you de Fradee as a young white dude before allowing you to completely change that, you'll choose a class archetype from 3 options. As usual, spiders manage to present something that feels just a little bit different to the norm, even if it is a tad overcomplicated. Your 3 choices are warrior, magical and technical, though you can mix and match skills from all 3 once you begin. Warrior is kind of self-explanatory and allows you to wield heavier weapons, wear proper armour and dish out high damage on the battlefield. Magic requires you to wear special rings to channel energy, and the high volume of spells that become available give you a wide range of options for each fight. I went with technical for my first and main playthrough, mixing mid-range damage and defence with bombs, guns, poisons and traps. Technical is by far the most interesting tree in my opinion, but there's something here to suit everyone. As you level up, you can increase de Fradee's stats and abilities, not only improving along specific trees within your class, but also unlocking and improving innate abilities like lockpicking, agility, charisma and science. With the latter, you can craft bombs to break down walls or concoct sleeping potions to knock out guards and make stealth easier. Regardless of your class, combat doesn't ever really change all that much. Enemies tend to just rush you, often relentlessly, while certain mobs will have gunmen and magicians in their midst to deal ranged and AoE damage. It's not the most precise combat system either, unfortunately. Attacks lack any real weight, enemies and characters kind of phase through one another, and there's a floatiness to it all that undermines the variety on offer. That being said, it often feels satisfying to carve your way through enemies. The tactical pause menu allows you to queue up attacks, while you can map 12 skills at once to the face buttons and triggers to allow for some much needed combat diversity. At later levels you'll unlock an evasive role, as well as various attacks and buffs to make you a more versatile fighter. Along the way you'll meet and recruit 5 characters, all of whom come with pre-baked skills and stats. You can change their gear but not their fighting styles, and the onus is on you to take the right 2 with you into fights and conversations. It's a decent cast of characters, each with their own motives and personalities. Similarly to Dragon Age, they'll often need you to complete tasks for them which may put you in conflict with the others, or with the various factions who control Serene and Teer Fradee. There are romance option too, of course, allowing you to woo several of them and ultimately get down and dirty, but if you piss them off enough they might turn on you completely. I managed to avoid it by basically being a fawn and kiss ass as often as required, but some of them are quite easy to upset. Likewise, the factions that control the game world, namely the Bridge Alliance, the natives of Teer Fradee and the ruling councils of Thélème, will send you hither and thither on busy work errands until your legs fall off, and you'll be forced to make many choices, not all of them binary, along the course of the game. Sooner or later you'll anger one group or another. At this point the ability to opt for stealth and diplomacy alongside combat comes in handy, as you can wear disguises, sneak, stealth attack enemies or build up your charisma skills and talk your way out of most encounters. Honestly though, I didn't find the conversations and political intrigue all that stimulating, and there are so many unlikable, inherently shifty characters that I didn't really care who I narked off. That said, a few of the choices do feel like they carry some weight, although ironically, these are the choices that split most evenly between good and evil options. If anything, there's a bit too much talking and walking involved in keeping everyone happy. Side quests, often involving finding someone else to talk to, pop up relentlessly, and they become tedious very quickly. There's only so many times you can force yourself to give a shit about someone's shipment of stolen goods or someone else's missing family member. The problem is that the side quests are just not that engaging, and as most reward you with nothing but money, they feel more like padding than anything else. The semi-open world nature of the game harkens back to Dragon Age Inquisition, whereby you'll fast travel to a hub in the wild where you can explore, but upon reaching a certain point on each path you'll be presented with an option to travel to a different hub area. This I wouldn't mind if only there was more to find in these areas. Quite often there's nothing to see but bandits, beasts, or the odd mutated monstrosity to fight. Also, after 6 or 7 hours of walking around Teer Fradee, I'd have given my kingdom and my neighbours for a horse. You can use wagons to fast travel or globes in cities and campfires in the wild, and before long I was skipping any actual travel because it was just dull. Remember how often you fast travelled in The Witcher 3? More than likely not a lot, because the world was brimming with intrigue and adventure. Teer Fradee just isn't, and it should be. I think the marketing screwed with my expectations of Greedfall, because upon leaving Serene for the island, and that takes bloody ages by the way, I assumed I was heading to a land shrouded in mystery to be charted by my intrepid young heroine and her brave companions, so imagine my disappointment when we arrived in New Serene to find it looking exactly the same as plain old Serene. Spiders even use the same chunks of street and building fronts, and the mysterious island is, at least to begin with, mostly fields and roads. It's hardly an uncharted wilderness. I mean, there are bloody road signs everywhere. I guess I was just expecting something more visually arresting and atmospheric than what I actually got. Now, if I sound like I'm being harsh, allow me to counter that by saying that Greedfall is an incredibly ambitious title for Spiders. It's easily their biggest game to date, and for the most part it's well written and deep enough to warrant 2, maybe even 3 playthroughs, but it is rough around the edges in almost every department. It's easily comparable to Dragon Age 2 or Mass Effect Andromeda, which sounds like a bit of an insult until you consider that Spiders have neither EA's financial backing nor BioWare's RPG pedigree. Bound by Flame, Mars Warlogs and Technomancer are all evoked by Greedfall's world and systems, and for this reason it feels like a true progression despite it being a new IP. For every enemy whose AI resets because you move too far away from a set area during a fight, there's a new outfit to modify or spell to learn. For every janky cutscene or out of place regional accent, there's a snippet of lore to be found that fleshes out the 17th century like seafaring world that Spiders have created. And the sheer heart that has gone into making it balances out many of the minor annoyances and quirks that might have proved the downfall of a less passionate development team. While combat may be a little bit loose, it's also a lot of fun, giving Desade a ton of options for every encounter, or indeed for avoiding every encounter if that's how you want to play it. And the characters are a boon, with Loyal Kurt and the difficult to trust Petrus being standouts for me purely because I was never quite sure where their stories were going. In aiming for bigger, Spiders have left themselves open to the trips and traps of all open world RPGs, trying to fill the sudden space and resorting to obvious padding to keep you interested. Ironically, had they focused Greedfall into a story driven RPG with half the side content, I'd have probably been left wanting more. As it is, I found myself ditching all but the companion side quest just to get through the story and make things happen, and that's never a good sign. But what I will commend Spiders for, as always, is their ambition and ability to innovate in small ways every game. Greedfall struggles to find its feet and then maintain them, certainly, but it also presents a mostly enjoyable adventure that gets better as you go, opening up the secrets of Teer Fradee in some surprising ways. Once again then, Spiders have surpassed what they've delivered before, and despite its flaws, Greedfall is easily their biggest and their best game yet.